here my fins are completely dried, and now I'm going to attach my launch lugs here. And these go on very much like the fins did, although we really don't need to worry about getting them tacky beforehand. So I'm just going to put an even bead of glue here. And then the aft launch lug is going to go flush with the aft end of the body tube. And here we just need to make sure it is in line with our line. Okay, straight up there. And then the forward launch lug is going to go at this mark that we made earlier at 11 inches. Okay, now once again, make sure that is straight, and then sight down this, much like a gun sight, so that the two launch lugs should be in line with each other and in line with the line that we made, and mine are. So I'm going to let these dry for a few minutes before we come back. While the launch lugs are drying, we can return to the nose cone here. And my model putty has been drying for several hours now. And so now I'm just going to go and take my 220 grit sandpaper once more and sand this down. Alright, now you'll notice this clogs up sandpaper pretty quickly, so you may want to have some more handy. And at this point, I've got most of the excess sanded off. You can still see some unevenness here. And eventually what I'm going to do here is sand most of this away, so that the only stuff remaining will be filling the grooves in the seams there. Okay, I may want to do a little fine-tuning of the sanding there, that you get the general idea. And this stuff can still be resolubilized, so if you add a little water or alcohol to this, you can re-smooth it if you need to. So if you end up with a little hole or a gap there, you can re-smooth that in, or simply add more on top of it. The glue on my launch lugs is dry, and now I'm going to apply fillets all the way around, so on all the fins and on the launch lugs. Now the snap swivels come in different styles and sizes, and the size doesn't really matter. The rocket isn't that heavy that it's going to separate any of these snap swivels, but it does need to be big enough that the snap part here can fit around the nose cone eyelet. Okay, so if I put this guy on, it just barely fits. Okay, so instead I'm going to take this one back off. Now this is a size 5 snap swivel, and it's of the style, it has this little hook here, and that's to help keep it from coming undone. Okay, so the alternative I have is a little bit different. This is a larger size. This is a size 5, these are size 3. These are also a little bit different style. Okay, and as long as it fits the nose cone, it really doesn't matter. Okay, but this does have a differently shaped clip as well as being bigger. So if I put that on there, alright, it closes very easily. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one. So let me just set that nose cone aside. Now again, this does not come with the kit, so you've got to purchase that separately. And now I'm going to take all of the loops here. Alright, so this is pre-tied, has 3 loops of shroud lines, and I'm just going to gather all of those, untangle them. Alright, so I've got them all looped around one finger here. And now, on the other side, I'm going to grab the middle of the parachute, right there, and pull those taut. And if they're all the same length or close to it, all of those corners should be right next to each other. And they're pretty close, so I'm not going to worry about trying to change anything there. Okay, over here on my other hand, I still have my loops here, and now I'm going to pinch that off so they don't move. And now I can change hands. And so at this point, I'm never letting those loops loose so that they don't change length. And now I'm going to take the swivel end of the snap swivel. I'm going to pass all 3 loops through it. Alright, and I'm still hanging on down here below so that those don't change on me. And I'm just going to quickly clip that back together. There we go. Okay, so I've got the loops there. I'm holding on down here below it. And now I'm going to pass my snap swivel completely through the loops. Okay, and I'm going to pull that loop down. And now I'm going to let that snug up against the bottom there, forming a knot. Okay, come back to the parachute once more. Pull everything taut. And make sure that all of my corners are still aligned, and they are. And so once I know I've got that where I need it, then just take a little spot of glue here. It's more than a little. Alright, but you're just going to put a little bit of glue on that knot so that it does not come unraveled now. Okay, and now once I've got the rest of my rocket finished and painted, then when I'm ready to launch, I can just clip this onto the nose cone, pack the parachute into the body tube, and it'll be ready to go. And this also allows me to change out chutes very easily. So maybe I've got a really windy day and I want to put a little bit smaller chute on. I just unclip this, exchange the chutes, clip a new one in. While my fillets are still drying on the lower part of the rocket, I'm going to come back here to the upper assembly. And the glue on the explosive blanket sleeve here has dried. And now to help smooth that into the rest of the rocket, I'm going to come back and use my plastic model putty here. And I'm just going to run a bead of this along each edge. And then just take a finger and smooth that all the way around. Okay, now it's up to your personal aesthetics as to how much you want this to blend in. Okay, and again, you can see it's very quickly setting up there. If you need to, again, you can use just a little bit of alcohol on your finger. So here I just applied a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and that'll allow me to smooth things a little bit better. Okay, it's still clumping up there, and you can apply more. Just be careful that you don't soak a lot of the liquid into the body tube. Alright, so that looks really rough, but that will sand out. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. Now you can also use wood filler, which has got a little bit longer working time. And so if you find that this stuff's really annoying because it clumps up so quickly, that's an alternative. You can also simply build up the fillets using glue. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that like that. And as soon as the fillets finish drying, we'll be able to assemble both body tube assemblies together. Here, all of my fillets have finished drying all the way around. Okay, and we can check these out. They look pretty smooth. Now, if you want to build these up to create a more curved surface between the fins and the body tube, you can do that. Either by adding more layers of glue, or you can use model putty, you can use wood putty, you can even use epoxy. Okay, but however you want to do it, it's best to do it in multiple layers rather than trying to do one big glob fillet all at once. So this brings us really to the point of putting our rocket together. Now here's the upper part where I had applied the model putty to that. And you can either sand this before you join the rocket or after, it doesn't make any difference. At this point I'm going to sand this later, and so I will go ahead and join my rocket together. So on the main body tube here, we're going to apply a bead of glue around here. I'm just going to spread that around. Okay, and then we're just going to join this. Now there's nothing that we need to align on the upper body tube, so this can go in however way you want to. If you want, you can line up the spirals there. That's not critical, but some people like to do it. Alright, so I'm just going to twist this back and forth a little bit, work that glue all the way around. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and line up my spirals. Okay, I'm just going to hold this for a little while the glue sets, and that way that'll give me a tight joint here. And then if you need to, if there's a little bit of a gap there, or just one area is poking out over the other, you can use this same model putty to fill in any gaps down here. Once the body tubes have been joined, the last thing to do is to attach the shock cord to the nose cone. And you may want to wait on this until after you paint it. It's up to you. I'm just going to show how to do this, and I'm going to untie mine because I do want to wait till after I paint it. All right, but when you're ready, this will go on just like the other end of the shock cord did to the screw eye in the baffle. So just run it through the eyelet here. Okay, and tie a double knot. Now I've just got a single knot here, but you just tie one more on top of that. And also, like we did before, apply a little drop of glue to that to lock it into place. All right, and structurally this is done. All you'd have to do now is add the parachute by clipping on your snap swivel or tying directly onto the eyelet there. For the rest of the video, I'm going to concentrate on the finishing. Now, for the paint scheme, according to the instructions, everything above the explosive blanket sleeve here should be red, and everything below is a light gray. On the package, it looks a little bit different. Okay, So that actually almost looks white, and it kind of looks like the nose cone is a darker red than the upper body tube there. And I'm sure you could paint it either way and it's going to look great. Okay, I'm going to go with what the instructions indicate and paint the entire upper section here red and the lower section a light gray. Here I've come back to the edges of the explosive blanket sleeve here, and I didn't really like the way the putty had come out just freehanding it here. So what I would have done is masked off the area on either edge where that should come to, and now I'm going to use a wood filler here, which has a little bit longer working time, and I'm going to use this popsicle stick here as an applicator to help me put that around. Here I'm going to try and scrape off as much of the excess as I can, so it'll save me on some sanding. That weird noise you're hearing is the fins going along the surface. Now before this dries completely though, almost forgot this, we need to remove the masking tape. Alright, this is going to give us a little bit of a ridge there, but I think that's going to be easier to sand. And at least it will be uniform. Here I've sanded where I put in my wood filler, and I'm really not that happy with it. In order to sand the contours here, it really got a lot of abrasive action going on the tube itself, and so that's left these kind of rough edges. If I were to do this all over again, I'd probably not even worry about putting the filler in. I would just keep the sleeve the way it is. So I'm going to use some filling primer on this and see what I can do to clean it up a little bit. Here I've applied a filling primer and then sanded that with 320 grit sandpaper, and it's still not as good as I would like, but I'm going to call it good enough for now. And so from here I'm going to apply primer to the entire rocket, followed by the paint. Here's my finished rocket. We've got the red paint on the forward section above the explosive blanket here, and then light gray beyond. The decal is a single vinyl decal, and you can just apply it all at once. If you want, you might want to trim around the corners and such, and you can use a little film of some mildly soapy water to help position this. In fact, you can see a few bubbles there. They'll work themselves out. Alright, but all I need to do now to fly this is hook in the parachute on the snap swivel that we did earlier and add a motor, and it will be ready to go. So I hope this video was fun and informative for you. Hope you have a great flight and a safe recovery, and please stay tuned for more of my videos.